Hello and welcome back to the MMA Split podcast as we are celebrating. And still, Leon gets it done, Paddy gets it done. I'm not as happy about that one, but the Brits invaded, took back what is rightfully ours if we want to hold on the Colby Covington motif of 1776 and War of Independence and all this bollocks. We got it done. We're going to be discussing that, plus all of the action from UFC 296, and a little bit of news that's come in the follow-up. I'm half of the hosting duo, Matt. That's host and producer Josh.
How's it going?
You need to like and subscribe and comment, because we need comments and subscriptions and likes. All of those are very much required. We're not going to harp on about it. That is your warning. With that out the way, and a stacked lineup to discuss, to break down, to review, to look back on. Let's get into it. Main event. Whole reason the card was built. Violent, savage, disgusting, inappropriate things were said. Lines were crossed. This is the fighting game. Statements were made. And Colby backed up absolutely none of it.
Yeah.
Looked old, slow, outclassed, outgunned, outmatched, outthought. In many ways looked like a guy that in his inactivity has and lower level competition aside from the Usman fight and this Leon Edwards fight, all three of which he lost, really looks like a guy that has just had the sport pass him by. And in that period of inactivity, the general standard and well-roundedness and level of people has increased as his level dropped down, and he's fighting a switched-on champion that was cold as a cucumber, removed all emotion from his performance, didn't give Colby a sniff until he wanted to play around with some grappling in the last round.
Yeah.
Knowing that he's 4-0 up. Like, this was
and that it was probably a safer spot to be in than... I think that Nate Diaz moment is always going to be in his head, you know.
And let's face it, Colby is many things, but he's never been a finisher standing up or on the ground. This was the... I said this to you before we started recording. This was the equivalent of a team being 4-0 up with 5 minutes to go and letting a clean sheet go and slip past. And honestly, if Colby had been even 10% more competitive in those first 4 rounds, I don't think Leon drops that fifth. Like, that's a fifth that you drop. And this is something that we do see from Leon. One negative you got to say is he can coast. If he knows he's got the win and he's just outdoing the guy, he's very happy to cruise and take the easy win. Like, he won't desperately look
on this
to go
occasion,
out of his way
though,
to finish.
On this occasion, though, I fucking love it. I said last week that after I threw the ball, I didn't think the bottle throw was as bad as it sounds. He sat back down. He was very steely. I think he knew that he wanted to take care of business here. He didn't want to let Covington make that Duran kind of noise and bait him into a brawl that he might lose. It was a fucking masterclass. He beat Colby everywhere. And by that 5th round, it was like, just don't give him any low hanging fruit. It's fine to coast. And just wrap it up. Just take it home.
And listen, a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, what was Colby doing? That wasn't the same Colby." I don't think it's we've got to admit, Colby did not look as good as he's looked in some of the fights beforehand. But I think you got to put a lot of credit on Leon Edwards, because in an ideal world, Colby is staying on the outside and just looking for that moment of overextension to shoot in. And what instead he got was just constant, steady, applied pressure, fakes, constant movement. Not jabbing, but just putting that out there, just creating the distance. Every time he even thought about getting a setup or an entry, oh, now I'm giving you a stance check. Now you're getting your leg kicked. Now I'm moving out of the way of your shot and just snapping you back. And it's so fast that you can't even process how quickly your shot's been missed and I've landed mine. And chipping away. Just chipping away. Teep to the body. Little 1-2. Little jab. Oh, now I've kicked your leg again. Now I've kicked your leg again.
Yeah. Everything minimal setup. Nothing's overextended. Biggest thing, though, is just Colby, it's not like a Robbie Lawler style drop off, but he was rusty. He does look slower. I don't know how much it is that the whole sport's caught him up with his inactivity, but Leon Edwards for fucking sure
has caught him up.
You know, I mean, we saw that against Usman. Like, we already knew this, but yeah, Leon Edwards is a legit fucking beast, a real champ to be proud of. Between him and Aspinall, it feels insane to be a British MMA fan right now.
Well,
but the big thing is just like he was so fucking gun shy when like the lack of confidence and the rust going into this fight. That first single leg that he went for was just sad. That was just really, really sloppy.
Well, also I think it's just you fight Usman, and the second Usman fight I didn't think he looked nearly as good, and he was tentative. But you're fighting a guy that's not got the same as, you know, an amazing fighter, amazing champion, great wrestler, but doesn't have the same technical understanding of striking and range and fakes and setups. And so to go for 2 years off, and then you're fighting Leon Edwards, and he's just throwing all of this information and pressure at you at the same time. And he's fast, with no setup, there's no wind up, there's no tell.
Yeah.
And
the setup isn't like tensing or moving to set up a shot. The setup is the shot that came before that shot, or the two shots that came before that shot. It's really slick, nice combinations.
And in the first 2 rounds,
so I go the point I was trying to make and I didn't make it. Just the like so that's in Colby's head. It's like every time he's like, I can't even like eat that one dumb shot. Like the distance was all wrong, and so much of it was just not in just being tentative. I think just straight up being scared. Not scared of him, scared to lose. Just
there was a couple of times in the first 2 rounds Colby tried to like throw his way, and you think maybe this is him throwing some punches into an entry, and Leon just snapped back and countered him. There was another where he tried to get forward, Leon just throws him, perfect right hook, catches him. So it's not like he was just like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, he was probably trying to replicate a little bit of what he did in the second Usman fight, of which he did have success in the last 3 rounds, which is don't be stupid, look for the opening, and then blitz in and try and mix in your grappling. And Leon just shut the door on him before even that first...
Well, every time he tried to be wild like that, you know, kind of like fake low, go high, throw something, get caught, but let it glance, he was getting caught clean with harder shots. And if he was like landing 2, he was getting hit with 2.
And Leon never charged in, understood the distance, just kept that constant pressure, and just using that jab hand just to constantly be like, nah, this is my space. This is my space. No, you've got to be back here. This is what I'm working with.
Yeah.
Masterful. And here's another thing for somebody like Leon. It's for somebody, like Colby. When you have that wrestling style, I think you get used to not having as many people try and kick you. Because a lot of guys will approach a wrestler and say, keep it with the hands, you don't want your kicks being caught. Like, I don't know if he's ever in his entire career eaten leg kicks like that, as consistently as that before.
No.
And had somebody willing to throw like that. And then the third round for me, this is when the fight was won from a psychological perspective. He finally gets a takedown after eating some shots. Leon's starting to open up a bit. Leon just immediately gets back up. Like it's
just hip escape,
effortless.
Back out. It was like he was like doing a drill on how to do hip escapes.
Kicks him in the head on the get up.
Yeah.
And then takes him down as well. Just to show him, like, no, this isn't your world.
Yeah.
This isn't your world.
Well, it's like that Mighty Mouse thing. He used to get into full mount, then put himself, like, he'd be in guard or half guard, pass through the full mount, go back to half guard, and then pass back to full mount, just so the guy knew he could do it at will. Like, it was just that, today is my day.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Now, was it the most exciting after round 3? No, and it's not the largest output that we're going to see in a fight. But I'm just so proud of Leon.
Were you surprised at the strike count when you saw it, though? I did not think it was that low watching the fight.
I knew it wasn't high because there was a lot of fakes and setting up the right strikes. But I kind of thought 2 things. One, I thought after everything that happened at the press conference, the most important, like the standout attribute is the removal of emotion. Just being that cold, that tactical with everything else. on the thing. I think that is exceptional, and that is the mark of a champion. I will also say that this might be something that if Leon puts together a dominant run, might hurt popularity in the long run, where it's a little bit like the Adesanya problem that Adesanya had for a while, which is if I'm just not fighting somebody that's really good enough to deal with me on the feet, and I know that it's just a case of, don't let them get the lucky punch and don't get excited and put myself in a takedown and throw a round away unnecessarily.
Yeah.
And if the guy isn't good enough to stop me just leg kicking him and picking him apart for 5 rounds at distance and I'm going to win, the fights aren't necessarily going to be that exciting. And that's the only thing I'd say here. Like, Leon is that type of guy, a bit like to GSP, where you got to be good enough to get the great fight out of him, because he's so cold in there and focused on what he's trying to do that he's not trying to prove anything to anybody. He's not trying to be like, oh, I need to get that big highlight finish so that I get the love from fans. He's just like, no, this is why you want to play this. We'll play this, but I'm winning this fight and you're losing it. So if you want to change it, that's your choice to try and change it.
It's a sport that can be very easy to win when you do compete, or you go about it in a low level kind of way, or if you're looking to be anything less than dominant, then really it does look very risk adverse, because otherwise you do just open yourself up shots. There's just no two ways about it.
Leon gets it done. Colby, it's funny,
it was fucking hilarious. I loved it.
He got a lot of fans behind him in the press. Even after his comment, a lot of the live fans, and because he did the whole America versus England thing, were on his side. But I think he lost a lot of respect from a lot of the other UFC fighters, and I think longer term, particularly when you say all that shit and then lose the way you do, a lot of those fans who were so quick to cheer you when you're saying it, the same fans that will turn on you very quickly when you put in a performance like this. And so it does make me kind of think, it's like, where does this leave Colby now? He's 0-3 in title fights. He's 35. He's shown no willingness to fight young up-and-coming contenders. And after in the press conference after the fight, he calls out Wonderboy. It doesn't really suggest that's a guy that's trying to do everything he can to get back to the title. That sounds like a guy who's looking at all the fights that favour him in the top 10 going, that guy. And then he'll probably call out and try and say some shit about Leon afterwards to get another title shot. And I don't think that stick's going to work anymore, even if they do give him a Wonderboy fight.
Well, also, he hedged his bets. They're only going to keep him around while he sells. His style, all of the styles really do kind of depend on winning. But, the very brash McGregor style bullshit, you really have to back it up. If you're not winning, you don't get those fickle, feeble-minded twats behind you, aka casuals. And
the problem is when you get a kind of maybe undeserved title shot like this, it's a little bit like the TJ Dillashaw situation where his shoulder was completely fucked and he probably shouldn't have got the shot in the first place, and then you find out how fucked he was for it. And it makes you look at it and go, man, there's so many other guys that deserve these shots.
Yeah.
And you can't keep, it's not fair to keep them waiting forever. I've been taking the mick out of Bilal, but I don't think there's any doubt he should be fighting for the belt next. Like, we'll get to Shavkat, but I still think Shavkat needs a little bit. I think he needs one more fight before you can absolutely say, like, that's the fucking guy. Or if you don't make him fight again, he at least has to just wait for Bilal.
Well, put it this way, if they go to Leon, like, who would you rather fight?
It's Bilal.
Yeah.
Well, Bilal's style is very similar to the last 3 fights that you've had in terms of competitors.
One, since you shown, like, you kind of showed in very briefly that you really shouldn't be losing to this guy. You've had more fights and really kind of
steps up.
Well, it was hard to say because we weren't really seeing the progress because he wasn't being pushed in the same ways. But, like, you kind of got a sense that he was putting it together. You were seeing the results, and then you really got to see how fucking good he was once he got to Usman. And
Yeah.
you're like, wow, man, like, I didn't think he was going to be losing to Bilal at the time. It didn't look that way. But now, these last 3 fights, you're like, nah, like, Leon is, could potentially go on to be in, like, GOAT conversation.
Well, here's the thing about the Bilal fight as well. I know it's a couple of years ago, every single fight's different, but for all the talk about everything about Colby's bad performance was because he's old and slow. The first round and a bit of that Bilal fight before it got stopped because of the eye situation looked a lot like the first 4 rounds of the Colby fight. Like, Bilal's the same guy, in your face, pressure, and he couldn't get a step in and was getting picked apart on the outside. And although bigger and stronger, and I think obviously more active and more kind of focused compared to Covington,
Slower, less output.
also just not as technically, like, you even the couple of moments where I thought Colby did kind of not shine, but look at his best in this fight, were the scrambling moments where you see how quick he can move out of things. You're like, man, like, those skills are still there when you're in those situations. Bilal has not got that to the same level.
No.
He's scrappy. He's tough. He grinds. But I also think he's more finishable. Like, one thing you have to say about Colby, always shown a hell of a chin, man. You know, doesn't cut a lot of weight. Bilal does. Looked a little chinny when he got clipped with Leon in the first fight. Has been knocked out before. Can be hurt. Definitely not as fast. And yeah, you fight for that because Shavkat might just be the one. And you don't know with an undefeated.
That's part 2 of the reason. It's like,
you don't know with an undefeated guy. And listen, 2 title defenses is great. Just get a third one. Just finish off beating the Americans. And then we can start worrying about these Eastern European fucking monsters that are coming through with ride horses and wear funny hats.
Technically Asian?
Well,
So
we're right on that.
Man,
We're right on that. You know, I mean, they're literally like, what is it? It's just around Caucasia, basically, isn't it? A bit further along. They like horses.
They love horses.
They like horses. And they like wearing fluffy hats because it's cold. That's a scary guy. We'll get to him. But well done, Leon. Good for you, man. Handled yourself like a true champion. Class act all the way.
Yeah.
Top notch. Co-main event. Pantoja is just that guy right now.
Yeah. It's like, how'd you beat him? Because, I mean...
You beat him because he's 33 and he can't do this, like...
Yeah.
For
but
more
like
than a year more.
Royval in the first fight, looked like, you know, maybe if you can take him into deep waters, potentially there's something there. And I thought that 5th round, he kind of showed that if you can find a way to tire out Pantoja, if you can find a way to drain on him, then getting in his face, you know, it can be very problematic for him once he's tired. But even then, the best he was able to do was take a round off him.
You know, I think the issue with Royval...
With one judge as well. Like, that was it. Like, I think it was like 2 50-45s and then just the 149-46.
Yeah.
When I say like took a round of fight, I mean, what I mean is like pushed it close. Just...
Well... Do you know, I think Brandon Royval's biggest technical issue here, it's a little bit like the Tony Ferguson issue that we're going to touch on when we talk about the Pimlet fight. When you're a guy that is very happy to accept a being on your back position because you back his jiu-jitsu and you're very offensive with submissions,
yeah,
you don't always really train that like discipline of I'm staying on my feet, up, 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 up.
Yeah.
And against a Pantoja, you're just dealing with a guy where the fundamentals, they're just a bit further ahead of you. It's not that you maybe can't catch up, but like, jiu-jitsu is this guy's thing, man, and he's all about those fundamentals, and he's so good at getting control, not staying on his back. And you could just see the difference. Like, Brandon Royval was accepting those positions when he got put on his back, but any time he was able to get a reversal, Pantoja wasn't accepting it. He was immediately applying the right things to get back in either a neutral or a dominant position.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he had more success with the stand-up when he just kind of went a bit more Sean Strickland and just simple, aggressive, straight, march him down. But it's never going to work in the early rounds. Having the better fundamentals there wasn't really going to do anything more than just move it to another position where Pantoja was... going to do just fine, piece him up again. Pantoja's just a fucking beast right now. Great division. The last two champs and the current champ, fucking amazing.
It's just going to be Father Time with him, man. It's just going to be that he's 33 years old, and you can tell that there's a lot of having to explode and then find rest moments and face adversity and walk through a bit of fire when he knows, I can't be on my feet, I've just got to get this fight to the ground. And you think, Brandon Moreno is always going to back himself if he gets another shot. He's somebody that really believes in his ability to learn, particularly from previous fights against somebody. Always a gamer. If Albazi can really show a dominance in the wrestling, you think maybe he can outmuscle somebody like a Pantoja. But who knows, man? It's just flyweight's a great division right now.
Yeah,
this wasn't as good as the earlier flyweight fight in the calendar year, but Royval did himself proud, man. He gave it everything he could, and sometimes a 50-45 50-45s are not all made equal.
No.
This was not a 50-45 of domination. Like, this was a closer fight than the 49-46 in the main event.
Yeah. It's... Royval does better under the current scoring system, but still he comes at you in wild ways, not quite as bad as like a Tim Elliott, but like the thinking behind it's the same, create unconventional situations. You can be more opportunistic in there because the other guy has not practiced these either. Unfortunately, like Pantoja is just so deeply technical in so many different facets of the game. It really didn't matter. He was just a step behind the entire fight until the 5th round, which was close. But I scored for Pantoja. I'm just saying that was like the one time he really looked like he was.
Well, he had that moment, but then he got taken down again, and he couldn't get back up, as we're going to talk about in another fight on the main card. Let's move to the feature fight. Thompson versus Shavkat. I did specifically say when I said Thompson has a chance, I put in the caveat of if Shavkat chooses to strike. Little did we know he had a serious ankle injury and was in no way going to strike. Was going to clinch, take down, submit. So he clinched, took down, and submitted. It's impressive. The thing that stands out for me with the striking with Shavkat is he's obviously very dangerous at finishing once he gets somebody to the ground. And he did pressure, keep Wonderboy against the cage, and eventually get him down. But it's not like we saw like world-class wrestling. Somebody with a better takedown defense that is a little bit stronger and can maneuver themselves off the cage and break that situation, I do feel can keep that fight standing.
Well, that's the thing. Wonderboy's takedown defense is iron rubber. You're not glue. I'm getting up and fuck you. If you take him down near the fence, it's very, very achievable. It's impossible in the open map. And if you back him up to the fence, he's likely going to knock you out. But as kind of seemingly easy or basic as it might seem, like the thing is like Shavkat's so fucking freaky strong that like he's going about these situations in a slightly different way. He doesn't have to be technically perfect because he knows that he can gamble on his strength, getting him through to the next phase of his kind of transitions. He's going through step by step by step. Once he actually got under the neck, there was so little time left that I thought like, fuck, I don't know, maybe Wonderboy gets out of this. And just so crazy strong and just so confident in situations that other fighters might anticipate the guy trying to submit you or the guy in top position is maybe going to look for the position first, so it might buy you some time. You don't always get that against freaky strong guys. So Shavkat, Matt Hughes had a little bit about that in his game. Islam Makhachev's was it the triangle on Drew Dober? Or I was just like, how the fuck is he finishing that? I tell you what, if you want me to stop doing these hungover, leave a comment.
18,
otherwise, I'll keep doing it like this.
18 wins now. I think it's 10 submissions, 8 knockouts.
Yeah.
Guy's a beast. Could very easily be the next in line for the title if the UFC want to go in that direction. I think they might want to try and build Edwards up a little bit more in the UK, which is why I think the Bilal fight one, you take a point by saying, hey, we're being respectful, this is the guy that's earned it. Two, you get to maybe do it in England, sell it as a big card, and then you can maybe bring Shavkat versus Leon to a card in America for a bigger pay-per-view that you want.
Yeah. Also, it's easier to get the deal done and dusted and the event over the line, because, you know, it's like Damian Maia. They had a hard time getting him a championship fight because people didn't really want to fight him. Plus, they didn't really want to book him. They felt like he was old, too one-dimensional, not a direction they were trying to move the sport in. Shavkat, he's got like half of that problem. No one's going to want to fight him. People are going to like, you know, oh, I need to get surgery, I need to delay the fight, I need to have it on these terms. It's just a lot easier to get everything done and dusted and get another pay-per-view on the books, another title fight in for the year, if you go with the fight that everybody wants or the fighters
and
want.
You can settle, let's say there's beef, unfinished business, you know what I mean? There's
like this way, like Bilal's going to sell as much as Shavkat at this point. You get Shavkat another highlight finish, pay-per-view numbers go up.
Very true.
You get Leon Edwards, hopefully another sick finish, although probably more likely just another solid decision, but another title defense. Slight kick up in the numbers, I imagine. Highlight reels do a lot more.
Yeah. Okay, let's move down to a bit of sad news. Tony Ferguson loses to Paddy Pimblett. He's now tied BJ Penn's all-time UFC record of consecutive losses of 7. I kind of feel like maybe a little bit less Goggins training and a little bit more getting the fuck up from the ground when you're taken down would have been useful. And ultimately, it's hard not to feel like, particularly when you see that third round and Paddy looked fucking exhausted. And it's just like, man, just get back up. Why are you keeping... Why? You're not getting this triangle. Just fucking feet on the hips. Just try. Just try.
Well,
why are you accepting this position?
I think that maybe some of his motivation for going so hard on his cardio this late in his career and going to guys like Goggins is because he has gotten older. It does go. It fades. You know, he's trying to double down on his desire, his determination, his efforts, because he has no longer got as big a gas tank as he used to have. I think Tony got a little tired too. I mean, he really fucking brought it out of Paddy. I gotta be honest, I'm pretty... Paddy might be a piece of shit sometimes, but this was a good performance from both guys. It was a pretty good fucking fight, especially for this stage in Tony's career.
Good week from Paddy, generally. Good media, didn't piss anybody off. It kind of, you know, that side of things he handled. I thought he fought pretty well in the first 2 rounds and just looks a little tired, but still in the end managed to get
Did he not
control.
have a knee injury there as well? Something looked fucked.
No, he said he just said Tony's bony. Kicking him's like kicking metal. So I think he was just a bit bruised up, and cardio did seem like it had faded a little bit, and he said that his
nose was fucked, his impact's in the breathing. There was that thing at the end of the second round as he walks back and there's a little bit of a like, fuck this. Not in a I'm quitting, I'm giving up way, and you can tell it was really wearing on him.
Yeah.
I felt that to get through the fight and win, and to get it was a clean sweep, 30-27 across all judges' cards. Nice.
At least Tony didn't get finished.
Yeah.
You know, it was a reasonably... Like, he had his moments.
He got banged up.
He had his moments. Dana says he should retire, but he's not going to force him to do anything. Which I think is a reasonable answer.
Yeah, he'll get the speakers in Tony's wall guy and just be like, retire.
Or they'll just serve him to some absolute killer, just to really, like, sell at home. I think they should book him against Jim Miller at UFC 300 and both guys retire afterwards. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, I could go for that.
For Paddy, it's a hard one, man. I just don't... He's clearly more motivated and switched on. He's had a year of having to recover from injuries and deal with all of that crap, and, you know, it's had a bit of effect on his mental health.
Well, I thought he looked pretty good.
I thought he looked pretty good. I just don't know what pretty good means against Tony Ferguson.
I think this is kind of Paddy on track to be about as good as I think Paddy can be.
Hey, I think
Paddy's like potentially a number 5 kind of guy.
Hey, that's more optimistic than I am, but hey.
No, that's where I see him kind of at his peak.
Hey, that's pretty cool.
With if he can really, really commit to using a stand-up to take people down, that's how far he can go, I think.
Someone asked him if they think that if he would be interested in fighting Benoit Saint-Denis in the press conference. And he said, it's the craziest thing.
Don't fight him in the press conference, fight him in the cage.
No, he said, it's so funny because I actually just contacted him because I want to train with him. It's like, oh, would you be interested in fighting him? It's like, I want to train with him. It's like, that's a clever boy. Good answer, Paddy.
Yeah.
Stay away from that scary ex-Special Forces Frenchman.
He's kind of got a similar vibe to Paddy. Very good on the ground, but still dangerous on the feet, and a little fun and reckless. It's just that he doesn't go chin first, and his stand-up's a lot more dangerous than Paddy's.
He has more of a... That's a man that's killed people, man. That's a different intensity that brings into... And physically, he looks... Well, listen, you never know how a fight's going to turn out, but I wouldn't want Paddy jumping up to fight BSD anytime soon. Especially not on short notice. Because sometimes a fight on short notice against a guy that is a horrific star matchup for you may result in a bald-headed podcaster like myself winning a nice little €160 on a bet.
Tom?
No, I won.
No, against Tom.
No, on Bet365.
Oh, nice.
We were having the whole thing, and I was just like, I'm pretty sure Josh Emmett knocks him out because this is a horrible. How does Bryce Mitchell take down Josh Emmett on 2 weeks' notice? And there's no way he's going to outbox him.
In his dreams.
Jesus Christ, that's one of the scariest knockouts I've ever seen.
That
was a wilder knockout.
Top three.
Convulsing.
Top three kind of worst post-knockout reactions I've seen that they've left on camera.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
There's been plenty of times where they've cut away, and usually it's due to the amount of time that an athlete's unconscious for. But I gotta believe there's some that have been as bad. But it's kind of that one. The only two I can think of that are worse right now are both from The Ultimate Fighter, where the unconscious fighter is involuntarily making like a shrieking sound.
Yeah, like the Uriah Hall guy got
Adam something, and there was a guy, I think he was like Forrest Whitaker's BJJ coach as well, but he was just making a horrible sound when he got knocked out, and he's just like, fucking hell, that is spooky. But yeah, full on convulsing, very nervy time. Josh Emmett was very much in his face when it happened, very happy and G'd up for it,
and then
it kind of got to the point where he didn't stop convulsing, and Emmett's kind of, none of that's going to look good on camera.
Yeah, that was brutal.
Nothing, I'm not holding against Emmett though. I'm saying, even he kind of went from 100 back down to 0. Like,
the man might be 38 years old, but Jesus fucking Christ, has he still got the power of the gods in that fucking right hand, man. That was just like, yeah. And do you know what it really reminds me of? It's just like, yeah. So if anyone wants to doubt like how fucking good Topuria and Yair Rodriguez are, like, that is the fucking monster that they beat.
Yeah.
That is the fucking thing that they had to game plan around. Like, can't be hit by that. Can't be hit by that. Especially not moving forward into it. That's just like...
Yeah.
Scary dude, man. Scary dude. Maybe he's not done. Maybe Emmett can still... But listen, man, when you can hit that fucking hard at a featherweight, it's like, you've always got a puncher's chance.
Yeah.
Against anybody in the world.
Unfortunately, when you've already had those opportunities, they're not going to come around twice at this point this late in the day.
But that is life. Hey, they said that about Glover Teixeira, and he proved them wrong.
Yeah.
You never know. You never know.
Yeah, but like Glover hadn't lost to the same guys that were currently ahead of him.
No,
it was. Emmett's just fucked at the moment.
But Josh, sometimes it doesn't matter if a guy's showing that he's technically better than you at fighting and landing more shots, piecing you up. Sometimes you only need to land 2 good shots to win a fight. Like Alonzo Menifield, who's getting his ass kicked by Justin Jacoby, but he wasn't getting hurt by Jacoby. And then he hurt him critically.
Yeah.
Twice.
It's kind of late in the second round they talked about the betting line. And then as soon as they jinxed it, that was it.
Yep.
I don't usually watch it with the commentary up loud enough to hear, but For whatever reason, I was nostalgic for some Rogan, so I listened to the commentary on this one, and I thought, you horrible bastards, you absolutely jinxed that.
Well, I'm glad they jinxed it because I needed this one. Because I did not win 160 euros just betting on Josh Emmett. I also needed Menifield to win. I needed Cody Garbrandt to win. And obviously I needed Pantoja to win. So a little bet. Pretty happy.
Nice.
Pretty happy. I don't really have too much to say about this. Jacoby I still think is a better fighter than Menifield, but man, the guy can fucking hit.
Yeah.
What I do want to talk about is Carol Rosa versus...
That's a great fight.
Fucking best fight in the night.
Yeah.
By an absolute
Irene
country
Aldana.
mile.
It's
Just wasn't expecting it. Like, no disrespect to these women, but they're not women. Like, Aldana's had a couple of great knockout moments, but neither of them were in fights that were particularly entertaining until that moment happened.
Well, Aldana looked really switched on for this one, but she let Rosa get him with the leg kicks early, which not only meant that it was a closer fight because she dropped that first round, but definitely impacted her mobility somewhat. But then when her coach was like, look, get in her face, then you won't eat the leg kicks.
She can't kick you.
Joe Rogan's like, that's the opposite of making sense. But then we saw that if you just did get in her face and march her down, you really did nullify the base for those leg kicks.
Also, Aldana's a boxer, man. Like, she wants to be in that boxing range. That's where...
Yeah, some of the shots she threw looked fucking amazing as well. Like, some of the uppercuts, the hooks, just...
Carol Rose, have you seen the photo of them in the hospital?
Nah.
Oh, man. Swollen. Carol Rose's face looks fucked up. Aldana's doesn't look much better. But this was awesome. These were like the last two women I would expect to have a fight of the night on a stacked card like this. But maybe the best fight at 135 ladies, which isn't saying much, but...
I need decision on the prelims as well, right?
Yeah. Menifield was a decision.
Did he knock him out?
Menifield was a decision.
Was it?
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
He just hurt him badly in 2 rounds, and those ended up eking him the decision.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I can't remember the knockout. I'm just in my head, I'm like, there's no way he survived that. Alright, fair enough.
But great fight. Great fight. And some great performances as well. I think we got to talk Cody Garbrandt. That was a savage knockout. Bit of the old Garbrandt showmanship. Is he at the level he used to be? No. Was his leg getting fucked up by the leg kicks? Yeah. Did he need to kind of knock him out because maybe that wasn't going to get much better with the leg? Yeah, but fucking gets it done.
You kind of get like the knockoff Garbrandt version, you know. Keller is a lot better than Garbrandt at some things, but essentially where he excels is having heavy hands, having a good guillotine, and being tough and aggressive. It's like Garbrandt's just a little more leveled up on all of those things. And just a much slicker athlete, yeah.
Much faster. Speed kills.
Better haircut too.
But I like Garbrandt, man. He's a nice guy. I don't think he's ever going to reach the same heights, but I like to see him win.
Yeah.
Same for Gallagher, though. So
yeah, I like Boom too. It's just a fun fight.
Is what it is. King Casey O'Neill, starting to go wrong now. 2 losses in a row as soon as she steps up in competition. And a lot of those holes in the game that you don't see when you can just kind of swarm people with not the best wrestling or striking technique is now getting picked apart by the UFC vets that have been ranked. And
yeah, well, when she's not like moving, she's thinking about moving. Like, there's a difference between you know, kind of being ready and like stationary and like flat-footed and like, what am I going to do next? Just it's almost like she looks like she's quite you know, a solid professional athlete, and then just plods for a little bit and then goes back to being a professional athlete. There's just no real smoothness there in a stand-up game.
Also,
it's
the grappling
creates too many holes.
It's the same issue we see with a couple of other fighters where it's like the Mackenzie Dern issue, where it's like, I know that you're great if you've got me on my back and you're on top, but if you're not improving in your explosivity to get, or how to set that up, like, you're not a good enough striker to do the Charles Oliveira stand, rock you, and then finish you on the feet. Like, the Lipskis of this world, like, she was a fucking Muay Thai champion. You know what I mean? And she spent years getting put on her back and figuring out how to get back up or stay on there. And she will lose to the better grapplers. But if you're not good enough to get her down on her back, she's gonna hurt you on the feet. Exactly what happened.
And if you let her tag you, maybe she can fucking tap you as well. Casey wasn't like proper sour grapes, but she did look very embarrassed after this one, and I don't blame her.
It's 2 fights, she's kind of been outclassed.
Yeah, I think getting tapped by Lipsky though, that's
yeah. Well, Lizzy's got some submissions on her record, but no. So I think it's back to the drawing board for Casey O'Neill.
Yeah, no, but when she goes back to the gym and stuff, like everyone's either going to be decidedly not talking about it to the point that it hurts, or just shamelessly ripping the shit out of you.
This is also possible.
Like, there's no normal conversation to have about that one. Just
fair.
Only like around the people that know your game, but unfortunately, like that's where you spend most of your time. That's the people in your gym and in your circle. Like that hurts. I got to imagine that hurts.
No. Back to the drawing board. We'll just do the early prelims very quickly. Ulanbekov gets it done against Durden. I actually thought Durden was going to win this one. Coming on a 5-fight win streak.
Didn't look too bad during the fight. Just in moments, was just kind of getting outclassed. I think Durden is going to improve more as a fighter. I'm becoming more and more of a Durden fan as we go along. But I haven't got his name written down in front of me.
Ulanbekov. Tigero Ulanbekov.
Ulanbekov. I feel embarrassed for not getting it right because I do know it usually. I'm just having a shitty day. He is a beast.
Good fighter.
Like, what were they, 12 and 15 at the time? Yeah. Ranking, like, it shows. It's good weight class.
Flyweight stacked. Flyweights quietly become stacked, which is cool. Good knockout win for Andre Fili. Always like to see that guy doing well.
That was a fucking great one. That wasn't even like... Looked like he was going to go for the 1-2, and then just like midway just kind of adjust, like once he slips the shot, just looked, sounded just amazing.
And kicking it off, Martin Bidet defeated at last by
fucking
this
destroyed.
Undefeated fucking monster, Gaziev. He's going to be some fun at heavyweight. So all in all, not a bad card. Is it the best card of the year? No, but we got to see the 2 Brits win, Leon retain, Colby shut the fuck up, some scary knockouts, some great fights.
One really great fight.
One really great fight.
And I fucking enjoyed it a lot.
And we've had the news that MVP, Michael Vernon Page, has been signed, will be fighting Kevin Holland at UFC 299, which is exactly what we said was going to happen. Not 299 specifically, we just said it wasn't 297. And that card's now also got Gary versus Jeff Neal, Gilbert Burns versus Jack Della Maddalena, and what was the other big fight that we were talking about? Doesn't matter, but those 3 are awesome. I
want to remember something today.
This was the last fight card of the year. We will still do a podcast before the end of the year. Not on Christmas Day or Boxing Day, so not the usual days we do it, but maybe afterwards. And we'll do kind of like end of year, what we think of the whole year, who we think the fighter of the year is, all that crap. Talk about what's coming up 2024. I think with that...
I mean, do you want to chat any other sports?
Big weekend for our NFL, big nights coming up for you.
Yeah, do you want to do EFL, NFL, EPO, NFL episode next week?
We can do that. We'll do that.
Leave a comment. We'll definitely do it. No one watches this far. No one watches this far.
But yeah, you've got to beat the Seahawks, and then we've got to do you a favour and beat the Cowboys next week.
Yeah.
On Christmas Eve. Give me a Christmas present. Come on. If you have watched this far, you're probably the only one, and you're a hero. So we thank you for it. We will be back next week. We hope you're back next week as well. And you have an awesome Christmas coming up. Peace out, guys. Thanks for watching.
Bonsoir.